Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I promised you to share you a meditation on feelings. Actually, we are going to use a sutta teaching to meditate on the feelings. Before all of that, I will share you the sutta, and I will go quickly, briefly through the sutta, and that is going to be our meditation. You already know about this information. We studied about that a couple of times. Actually, our focus is to understand the feelings, and for that we use a meditation. If you are familiar with the Vipassana meditations, Vipassana means in English, seeing the root causes. These meditations are said to be Vipassana meditations, which means we are trying to see the true nature of our life, our senses, and our feelings. This is the teaching actually. It's kind of a summarized version of the meditation we are going to do. Kottita is a person's name, a monk's name, Kottita. With Kottita on impermanence, the Venerable Mahākottita went up to the Buddha and he asked, "Sir, may the Buddha please teach me Dhamma in brief. When I have heard it, I'll live alone, withdrawn, diligent, keen and resolute." Which means he said, "Please teach me a Dhamma. I will dedicate myself to the meditation and I will be enlightened by using that teaching." Kottita, you should give up desire for what is impermanent. That is the Buddha's instruction. He said, you should give up desire for what is impermanent. Here desire means craving, the root cause of suffering, craving for what is impermanent. Impermanent, we already learned, impermanent means things which are arising, vanishing and changing. Except Nibbana, the unconditioned, the enlightenment, every other things are impermanent. Things has arising, vanishing and change. Now Buddha says, give up the desire, give up the craving for that impermanent thing. And then Buddha explains what is impermanent. What are the things that are impermanent in you? Buddha support this person to meditate on the Vipassana, the insight knowledge, by saying that these are the impermanent things. The I is impermanent. Sights, impermanent. Eye consciousness, we studied that. Eye consciousness means the awareness of the eye. When seeing a sight, the consciousness, the awareness arises, and that arises not in the sights but in the eye faculty. So the eye, impermanent, to be seen as impermanent. Sights are to be seen as impermanent. Eye consciousness and eye contact are impermanent. Eye contact means friends, the collection or coming together of the eye, sights and eye consciousness. That collection of three components are said to be the eye contact. It's a Dhamma word you will find in the teachings. The contact means phassa, which means collection of three things. Buddha says to be seen as impermanent. You should give up desire for them. Why is the reason to give up the desire? Because those are impermanent. If we were to continuously attach through the craving to those impermanent things, it brings up the sorrow, it brings up the sadness, it brings up the pain, it brings us the suffering. That's why Buddha says that it is to be seen as impermanent. So it's an understood concept in the teachings. Impermanent exists everywhere because of our lack of knowledge on impermanence, that we keep on attaching blindly to these components. So he says, you give up desire for them. Then next Buddha says the pleasant, painful and neutral feeling that arises dependent on eye contact. We learned about this in our previous session. And this coming together of the eye, sight and the eye consciousness is the contact. That contact develops into the feelings. So the contact brings the feeling tone. Here Buddha says the pleasant, painful or neutral feeling that arises dependent on eye contact is also impermanent. Which means simply the feelings. Whatever the feelings arises, impermanent. Please keep in your mind impermanence in details. It means arising, vanishing and changing. And afterwards, Buddha says, you should give up desire for it. You simply give up desire for it. How do we give up desire? By seeing it over and over again. What do we see over and over again? The impermanence of these components. We see that impermanence over and over again. So that brings up the true knowledge of the senses, and that we won't make desire, we won't make craving and attachment to those things. Then it's said to be, that's the enlightenment, and one frees from all the suffering. You should give up desire for it. So the same way it continues into the ear, nose, tongue, body. The mind, ideas are seen as external, and the mind consciousness means the awareness of the idea. That when we know, oh, the idea came to me, that knowing, that awareness is the mind consciousness. Mind seen as the center for all the rest of the other senses. The same way he says mind contact are impermanent, you should give up desire for them. The pleasant, painful or neutral feeling that arises dependent on mind contact is also impermanent. You should give up desire for it. Kochita, you should give up desire for what is impermanent. Why? Because if we keep on attaching through the craving to the desire to these impermanent things, every single second, every single moment, it brings us pain, sorrow, sadness. Because it was not something we are ready. So it brings us pain. In subtler levels, it brings us pain. So we are going to develop this Vipassana meditation, impermanence meditation. Our focus mainly is to the feelings, to see the impermanence of the feelings. But we can see the impermanence of the feelings without seeing the rest of the other components like the eyes, sights, and so on. At the end, I will ask if you have any questions about this, and if you have thoughts, you can share with me. But for now, please sit comfortably and try to follow these instructions, these guidance to the meditation. You can close your eyes. Now try to focus your attention to your eye. First, we start with our eye. Now this eye is impermanent. Impermanent, impermanent. You know in details what is impermanent means. That is, when the eye arises, vanishes and changes. So this eye is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now you see the sights through the eye. Whatever the sights, forms, or physical things you see through your eye, every of those sights are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Sights are changing, changing, changing. Now when you see a sight through the eye, the awareness arises. We call it eye consciousness. Eye consciousness arises dependent on the eye and the sight. This eye consciousness is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now when these three things come together, the eye, sight, and the eye consciousness, the awareness arises in the eye consciousness. These three things come together, and that's the eye contact. This meeting of these three things, eye contact, is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Why is that? Because the eye is changing, sights are changing, consciousness is changing. So this meeting of these three things are subjected to change. It's vulnerable to change. It's fragile. It's insubstantial. Contact is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Dependent on the contact, feelings arises. Whether it is pleasant feeling, painful feeling, or neutral feeling. Whatever the feelings arises dependent on the impermanent contact, feelings too impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. How come a impermanent contact bring up a permanent feeling? Thus, the feelings impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now try to bring your focus mindfully to your ear. Now this ear is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Whatever the sounds that I hear through the ear are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. When the ear listens to a sound, the ear consciousness arises. The ear consciousness retrieves all the information in the sounds. But this ear consciousness is dependent on the ear and the sounds. So the ear consciousness is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Coming together of these three things, ear, sounds and ear consciousness, to impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Dependent on that ear contact, we feel whatever the sound brings to us. Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, or neutral feeling. These feelings too, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. How can we make a permanent feeling out of impermanent contact? Feelings regarding the sounds are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now bring your focus to the nose. This nose is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Nose is subject to change. Eye smells, fragrances, odors perfumes, scents, whatever in the outside, we smells. As long as the nose consciousness arises, we get to know these. So this awareness arises dependent on nose and the smells. As long as these two things are there, we get to know the awareness, bring up all the information. That nose consciousness is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now these three things come together. Nose contact, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Why is that? Because the nose is changing. Smells are changing. Nose consciousness is changing. So the contact of the nose is too changing, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Dependent on that nose contact, feelings arises. Sometimes we feel pleasant. Other times we feel unpleasant. We also feel neutral. These feelings too, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. How can we make the feelings permanent when the contacts are impermanent? Contacts are so fragile, so impermanent. Contacts are changing really fast. Contacts are vulnerable to change. So the feelings, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now bring the focus to the tongue. The tongue has an arising, has an vanishing at some point, and in between it's changing, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. The tastes are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. When there is tongue and when there are tastes, the tongue consciousness arises dependent on that too. This consciousness bridges, connects these two experiences, these two internal and external faculties, so that tongue consciousness is too impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Coming together of these three things, tongue, taste, and the tongue consciousness, two, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Dependent on that tongue contact, we feels whatever there are. If there is a delicious food, we feel pleasant feeling. If there is a food that we dislike, we feel unpleasant. Sometimes we feel neutral. Whatever feelings occurs, they all are dependent on contact. not under my control. The contact brings the feeling. When there is impermanent contact, we can't achieve the permanent feelings. All the feelings dependent on the contact are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now, bring your focus to the body. Now this body is also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. We studied in the body meditation how much this body is decaying, changing. There are stages in this body, undergoes the change. That's because of impermanence. Now whatever the tangible objects or the tactile objects receives to the body are also impermanent. They come and go. Impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. There arises the awareness or the consciousness of the touch sensation inside the body, whatever the place this tactile object touches, so that body consciousness are dependent on the body and the tactile object. So it is too impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now when these three things come together, meet together, this collection of three things, body, the touch, and the body consciousness, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Out of impermanent contact, whatever we experiences as a feeling, whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, they too are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Feelings last up until there is the tactile object, the body, or the support it receives through the consciousness. When those things changes, feelings goes away, not under my control. Feelings, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now the mind. Focus to your mind. Simply think about the mind. This mind is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. This mind changes really fast. It goes all over the senses because it's not permanent, because it is changing. Impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. The ideas, the mental objects, whether it is a memory or visualization or future anxieties or sadnesses, whatever the hurtful memories that come to you as a mental object, they are too in a constant flux of change. They are changing, not forever. Impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now, when there is mind and an idea come to your mind, The awareness arises over the idea in your mind. That's a function in your mind, the mind consciousness. The moment that you realize that a thought came to your mind, that's the awareness. That awareness too is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Why is that? Because the mind changes. The ideas changes. How the mind consciousness is permanent. Now coming together of these three, mind, idea, and mind consciousness. These three things too are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. When the mind contacts this coming together of these three things, if they are changing, how the feelings that arises dependent on that contact will be everlasting. Whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, whatever the feelings occurs, because of the contact, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. These feelings of sorrow because of a hurtful memory lasts up until there is the contact. So the feelings are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Everything impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. My senses are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Those senses are changing. Those senses are impermanent. Whatever in the outside, in the external world that we interact in our day-to-day, all of these sense objects are changing, impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. And when consciousness arises instantly because of those internal and external objects, those consciousness are also impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Now the contacts are being created each and every moment. So the contacts whatsoever are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Why is that? Because the contents in the contact is impermanent. When contacts are impermanent, whatever the feelings, there are only three feelings: happiness or pleasant feeling, neutral feeling, and unpleasant feeling. Whatever the feelings that may arise, too are impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Out of impermanent contacts, how there arise permanent, forever, everlasting feelings? Whether it is pleasant feeling now I have, unpleasant feeling now I have, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant, which means neutral I have, are impermanent, 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 subject to change, constantly changing, impermanent, 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 sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, now you can open your eyes. Okay, friends, that is our meditation on feelings. Okay. When we do this meditation over and over again, there's no specific way, special way you need to think. Just try to understand the impermanence of the senses. When you do this over and over again, your mind establishes mindfulness on the feeling. Mind will come to the aware, like the mindfulness of the feeling. Because we get to know all the distractions and why those distractions are there. It's because of not understanding the impermanence, lack of the knowledge of changing. So when we do this, we get the opportunity to observe the feelings just as it is. Okay? You don't see these as impermanent? Is that because you are confused? Or do you see it like permanent? What brings confusion?
I don't believe there was any confusion. Quite on
Uh-huh.
the contrary, it was a very, very good, in my opinion, a very good way to meditate. Except when we started out with the eye, and then the three parts don't come together because we are closing our eyes and we are in total darkness. Yes, a feeling will arise, but we are not seeing anything. So, could you explain that, please?
um, but can you stay forever closing your eyes?
No, but that would be willfully then. So, I can will to close or to open my eyes.
So keep willing and keep closing eyes forever. Can you do that?
No.
No, the will again arises and tells you, no, open your eyes. Yeah, that's a very good point, Manfred, you know.
Uh,
That's a very good point to study more. I will think about that later. The even the will arises because of the contact. I mean, you need to think
no,
to act on the will. That thinking, the first generation, like first creation of the thought, comes from the contact.
yes, but the
I mean,
view.
you will to make a choice when you see an unpleasant thing.
Yeah.
Then the will tells you to stop, like close your eyes. That came to you because of your scenery, like your sight.
Well, the point here is
Uh-huh.
that you yourself can make it permanent or impermanent. I mean, you are right. I can close my eyes forever, but no, it's a mute argument.
Yeah, but no, no, I like that kind of questions, you know. It helps me to study more.
Yes.
And yeah, that's a good things to explore. Um, yeah, but only there are conditions. There are no self or like permanent things. Only conditions. Only play of conditions. One thing leads to the other.
But
When we
we
study more suttas, we'll clarify this. Yeah, what?
we studied impermanence often enough that it made sense. I mean, I really, really
Yeah.
like this meditation.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Please
very,
go ahead. Yeah, don't be happy about this and stop and be content about this understanding, but keep on doing this over and over again. You can touch a very deep happiness with this. Even your samatha meditations, like the concentration meditations, would be very successful if you carry this understanding. You can live mindfully if you do this mindfully always, if you do this meditation. Okay, thank you so much for joining for the session. May you be well and happy.